Have you ever wondered where we come from? Not just your parents or your family, but the very beginning of us as a species. Imagine a world millions of years ago, long before cities, technology, or even language existed. A world ruled by ancient forests, wild beasts, and changing climates. How did tiny, unremarkable creatures living in the shadows of giant dinosaurs evolve into beings capable of exploring space, creating art, and asking profound questions about the universe? This isn't just a story of bones and fossils. It's a tale of survival, adaptation, and incredible change. The epic journey of human evolution. From walking upright to crafting tools, from forming communities to creating civilizations, our ancestors paved the way for everything we are today. In this video, we'll uncover the mysteries of our past and discover what it truly means to be human. Welcome to Mindvibe Network. Let's dive deep into the story of human evolution. To understand where humans came from, we have to start not with humans, but with life itself. All life on Earth, every animal, every plant, every microorganism, traces back to a common origin over 3.5 billion years ago. Life began in the oceans as simple, single-celled organisms. Over time, those cells evolved, combining, dividing, adapting. Slowly, they became more complex, branching out into the vast diversity of species we see today. Now picture a massive tree, the tree of life, where every branch is a species and every fork represents a moment in evolutionary history. Somewhere high up on that tree, near the very tips, you'll find a small but remarkable branch, primates. Primates appeared around 60 to 70 million years ago, shortly after the extinction of the dinosaurs. Agile, intelligent, and equipped with grasping hands and forward-facing eyes, early primates adapted to life in the trees. Over time, they split into various groups, monkeys, apes, and eventually a special subgroup called the hominins. This is where our story truly begins. Today, our closest living relatives are chimpanzees and bonobos. Genetically, we're incredibly similar. We share over 98.7% of our DNA with them. But despite these similarities, there are deep differences. We build cities, write books, launch satellites into space. We ponder our existence. We imagine the future. So what happened? What made us different? About 6 to 7 million years ago, something extraordinary occurred. A small population of apes in Africa began to change. They didn't suddenly become human, far from it, but they were on a different evolutionary path. That path would lead to upright walking, bigger brains, more advanced tools, and eventually to the modern human mind. The first major milestone in human evolution wasn't fire, language, or even tools. It was walking. Around 6 to 7 million years ago, a creature unlike any seen before took its first upright steps on 2 feet. This wasn't just a physical change, it was a revolution. Bipedalism freed the hands for carrying food, tools, and eventually for building the future. One of the earliest candidates in our evolutionary story is Sahelanthropus cadensis, discovered in Chad, Central Africa. With a blend of human-like and ape-like features, it may have stood upright, challenging what we thought we knew about our origins. A few million years later came Ardipithecus ramidus, or Ardi. She lived about 4.4 million years ago in what is now Ethiopia. Ardi had long arms for climbing, but walked upright on the ground. She represents a transitional figure still tied to the trees, but beginning to explore a life on the ground. But perhaps the most famous early hominin is Australopithecus afarensis, best known from a 3.2 million-year-old fossil nicknamed Lucy. Discovered in 1974, Lucy was only about 3.5 feet tall with a small brain and a human-like pelvis. But her skeleton showed something extraordinary. She walked upright like us. Roughly 2.8 million years ago, something remarkable emerged in the fossil record, a new kind of hominin. One that would mark a turning point in our evolution. They weren't quite like Lucy and her kind. These early humans had larger brains, flatter faces, and made the first known stone tools. This was the dawn of a new genus, Homo. The earliest member we've discovered so far is Homo habilis, literally handy man. Living around 2.4 to 1.5 million years ago in eastern and southern Africa, Homo habilis was still short and somewhat ape-like, but his brain was larger, about half the size of a modern human's. And most importantly, he used tools. But the real game changer came next. Homo erectus, or upright man, appeared around 2 million years ago. Unlike earlier hominins, Homo erectus was tall, with longer legs and a more modern-looking body. Their brains were larger, and they didn't just use tools, they improved them. They crafted hand axes and developed hunting strategies. And they discovered something that changed everything: fire. Control of fire meant warmth in the cold, protection from predators, and the ability to cook food, unlocking more nutrients, feeding growing brains, and strengthening social bonds around campfires. Homo erectus was also the first human species to leave Africa. Fossils and tools show that they spread across Asia and Europe, adapting to new environments, hunting big game, and thriving in lands far from their origin. For nearly 1.5 million years, Homo erectus was one of the most successful species in human history. Other species evolved alongside them, like Homo heidelbergensis, who may have built shelters and hunted in coordinated groups, and Homo naledi, a puzzling mix of primitive and advanced features found deep within South African caves. Each of these species represents a different experiment in what it meant to be human. But they all share something in common: a growing intelligence, a deepening reliance on culture, and a spark of something greater: the drive to innovate, explore, and survive. As early humans spread across the world, they weren't alone. In Europe and parts of Asia, another species thrived, the Neanderthals. Stronger and stockier than us, they survived the Ice Age, made tools, buried their dead, and may have even created art. To the east lived the mysterious Denisovans, known mostly from DNA found in a single finger bone. For tens of thousands of years, the Earth was shared by multiple kinds of humans, but only one would remain. Around 300,000 years ago, a new kind of human emerged in Africa: Homo sapiens. That's us. We looked different. Slimmer builds, rounder skulls, and, most importantly, larger, more complex brains. But what truly set us apart wasn't just biology. It was culture. We developed language, created art, built tools with purpose, and passed knowledge through generations. By about 12,000 years ago, Homo sapiens were the last human species left on Earth. And we weren't just surviving anymore, we were shaping the world. From ancient forests to modern cities, from stone tools to space probes, our journey is unlike any other on Earth. We are the product of millions of years of survival, adaptation, and imagination. We are Homo sapiens, the thinking ape, the walking mystery, the story still being written.